This podcast is sponsored by the book, The Biased Brain, by Bo Bennett, PhD. Dive into the world of cognitive biases and transform your understanding of reality. Get your copy today at thebiasedbrain.com.
Understanding the primacy effect and its role in cognitive biases. Explore the primacy effect, why we remember the first things best, and how it impacts human cognition and bias in decision-making. The primacy effect, why we remember the beginning best. Hey, have you ever noticed that when you meet a group of people, the ones you remember the most vividly are usually the first few folks you encountered? Or maybe when you're trying to recall a grocery list, the first few items just stick in your mind more than the ones in the middle. That's not just coincidence. It's a well-known phenomenon in cognitive psychology called the primacy effect. So what exactly is the primacy effect? In simple terms, it's the tendency of our brains to remember information that we encounter at the beginning of a series better than what comes later. Imagine you're introduced to 10 new people one after another. Chances are you'll be able to recall the names of the first 2 or 3 more easily than the ones in the middle. Why does this happen? It comes down to how human cognition works and how our memory systems handle information processing. When we start learning or experiencing new information, our brain is fresh and focused, which means the first few pieces of information get processed more deeply and encoded better into our long-term memory. Think of it as a spotlight. When the list or sequence starts, your attention is sharp and you're more likely to rehearse or think about those initial items. By the time you get to the middle of the list or experience, your focus has waned, and it becomes harder for your brain to hold on to those details. This explains why items at the end of a list can sometimes pop into memory more because of another bias called the recency effect, but that's a topic for another day. Understanding the primacy effect is not just interesting trivia. It has some practical implications, especially when it comes to biased brain tendencies and how bias in decision-making can sneak into everyday life. For example, when evaluating people, jobs, or even products, the first impression can weigh heavily on your judgment because your mind automatically puts more importance on that initial information. This highlights just how important it is to recognize such cognitive biases when we're trying to think critically. Recognizing these biases can ultimately improve your critical thinking and biases awareness. If you're aware that your brain emphasizes the beginning of information more, you can take steps to consciously review the middle and end parts too, before making decisions or forming opinions. There's a great resource I want to mention if you're curious about cognitive biases in general and how they shape our perception of the world. It's a book called The Biased Brain by Bo Bennett, PhD. This book explores many fascinating quirks of our mind, including the primacy effect, and sheds light on the many ways our brains can mislead us without us even realizing it. Seriously, it's a fascinating read if you want to get a better grip on your bias in decision-making and sharpen your understanding of cognitive biases. In the end, the primacy effect is a perfect example of why understanding cognitive biases is crucial. Our brains aren't perfect data recorders. Instead, they are wired to focus and filter information in ways that sometimes lead to shortcuts or errors. By recognizing these mental shortcuts, we can become better thinkers and more mindful decision-makers, skills that are invaluable whether you're navigating social situations, work projects, or just everyday choices. So next time you find yourself stuck on remembering a long list or forming an opinion about someone or something, pause for a moment and consider how the primacy effect might be coloring your memory or judgment. It's a neat little window into human cognition that reminds us just how wonderfully complex and quirky the brain really is. If you want to explore this mind puzzle and many others, explore the biased brain and unravel the secrets of your mind today. You'll be surprised at what you learn about yourself and the way you see the world.